Tonight on ABC News Live Prime, a terror attack averted. Authorities say they stopped what could have been a devastating attack on the capital of New York. A woman accused of pledging allegiance to ISIS is now under arrest. Learn the chilling details investigators say they uncovered. A deadly midair collision in Pennsylvania. A small plane slams into a state police helicopter during training. What investigators are now piecing together about those final moments.
I'm Rachel Scott here at the White House, where President Trump is now vowing there will be an economic D-Day for Iran. He's now threatening major consequences for any country that provides any support to Iran. So the big question tonight, what exactly does it all mean? Is this just more tough rhetoric, or will the president actually follow through with action?
A royal twist no one saw coming. After Megxit rocked the monarchy, Prince Harry and Meghan may be returning to life across the pond.
Maybe he's just truly British at the end of the day and he just misses home.
We'll take a closer look at whether tattered family ties can be mended. And wild weather hits the Northeast corridor. We'll pinpoint the storms and the impact to millions in the bullseye.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is Prime with Lindsay Davis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thank you so much for streaming with us. We begin with an ISIS-inspired terror plot thwarted. The FBI says they arrested a woman for plotting to attack the New York State Capitol building in Albany. Authorities say the 35-year-old allegedly pledged allegiance to ISIS, spent weeks surveilling the Capitol, purchased bomb materials from a hardware store, and plotted with FBI informants for weeks.
In her own words, she continued, as referenced in the complaint, quote, "I don't want to take this kind of risk and have it kill, 2 or 3 people. What good is that?"
Officials also released these unsettling images of the New York Capitol complex where she circled the building she planned to target. We're learning more about what this woman told the FBI after her arrest. ABC's Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas has those details and leads us off.
The FBI says the woman in this photograph was conducting surveillance on the state capitol in Albany, New York, as part of a plan to bomb the building and kill as many state senators as she could.
The allegations in this complaint are deeply disturbing.
Jessica Bowie is charged with providing material support to ISIS, allegedly seen here at Home Depot buying items for a bomb, including a large bin of nails, electrical tape, and batteries. And the FBI claims she conducted surveillance on the Capitol at least 5 times, allegedly seen here with her cell phone. They say this is the DoorDash bag she allegedly told informants she planned to use to smuggle a bomb inside the Capitol. FBI officials say they became aware of Bowie after she was active on social media, allegedly posting increasingly radical comments. They say on May 28th, Bowie allegedly swore allegiance to the leader of ISIS, becoming a member. Then the FBI set up a sting where at least 3 undercover informants posing as Islamic radicals say they made contact with Bowie. She allegedly discussed executing the plot, including what would happen if she encountered police.
She requested a gun she intended to use on any law enforcement officer who tried to stop her.
When Bowie was arrested yesterday, authorities claimed that she had that gun and a bomb she did not know was fake. Lindsay?
Pierre, thank you. Severe storms blowing through the Northeast this evening. Flood warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings, even tornado warnings were issued throughout the afternoon. Multiple inches of rain are expected. ABC senior meteorologist Lee Goldberg has the latest pictures coming in.
Tonight, powerful storms targeting the I-95 corridor from D.C. to New York to Philly. Rain pouring into Penn Station. This funnel cloud spotted churning outside Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Our Philly station, WPVI, tracking tornado warnings over Atlantic City and Dover, Delaware, late today.
You want to get into the lowest levels of your home and also the interior sections of your homes.
This massive waterspout looming over Lake Erie in Sandusky, Ohio. Overnight, powerful heat fueled microbursts in the Florida Panhandle. And in Alabama, this sunroom destroyed by a burst of rain and wind. The storms targeting the I-95 corridor after pummeling the Midwest yet again. Our Alex Perez in Gary, Indiana, where families have been without electricity or running water for nearly 10 days.
There are still downed trees and power lines across Gary and northwest Indiana. The utility company doesn't anticipate being able to fully restore power until Tuesday, a full 2 weeks since the storms hit.
Power crews trying to repair months worth of damage in just weeks.
Rough going all over the map. Lee Goldberg joins us now. So, Lee, what can you tell us about a confirmed tornado and what we can expect the rest of the night?
Lindsay, large confirmed tornado near Dover, Delaware during the evening hours. There are tornado-warned storms west of Philly, flash flood warnings into New York City. So a rough evening along the I-95 corridor. Later on this evening, we'll start to see some improvement, but you have this rare, moderate risk of flash flooding from central New Jersey and New York City, just east of the Philly area, where you can have rainfall rates 2 to 3 inches an hour. All too familiar with these flooding forecasts over the summer. We're timing it with the worst during the evening hours. Late evening, still some rain lingering overnight in eastern Long Island, southern New England. We have a better day tomorrow. Unfortunately, unsettled weather moves in the weekend with even more rain threats. Then we talk about another tropical threat for Hawaii. It's not a direct impact, but this may become a tropical storm as we go through the weekend. It's likely to travel south of the islands, but at the same time, double-digit rainfall totals possible on the Big Island, and that on top of all the rain they've seen will cause more flooding. Lindsay?
All right, Lee Goldberg for us. Thanks so much, Lee. Now to the disturbing new video that shows the moment a state police helicopter was blindsided by a small plane in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. The plane's pilot was killed in the deadly collision, and a trooper and colonel in the helicopter were injured escaping the wreckage. Here's ABC's chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Katursky.
Tonight's startling new video shows the moment a small plane crashed midair with a Pennsylvania State Police helicopter, killing the plane's pilot and injuring 2 state troopers. The plane suddenly veering right off the runway during landing, blindsiding the helicopter as it hovered just feet off the ground.
The pilots would not have been able to even see that airplane approaching them.
That plane shearing off the helicopter's rotor blades and tail before breaking apart.
It was a very violent crash. That plane was cut into a lot of pieces.
One trooper managed to pull his bloodied colleague out of the wreckage. The collision Wednesday happened during a state police training exercise at the Carlisle Airport near Harrisburg.
The Cessna came in straight and level, suddenly increased its pitch, severe nose up, did a left turn, leveled off again, and then flew into the back of the helicopter.
Tonight, authorities identifying the plane's pilot as Paul Sokolowski, a respected emergency room doctor who became a flight instructor in February.
Incredibly, Lindsay, the 2 Pennsylvania State Police troopers aboard the helicopter walked away with relatively minor injuries. Eyewitnesses said the plane pilot was conducting some maintenance on the aircraft before the fatal flight, and tonight investigators are trying to determine whether that had anything to do with the crash. Lindsay?
Just a horrific video and outcome there, Aaron. Thank you. Tonight, new details in the deadly helicopter crash that killed 7 people in northern Kenya. Investigators say the aircraft was nearly destroyed by the impact and fire, leaving behind no recoverable electronic flight data. Authorities are now examining everything from the pilot's experience and maintenance records to weather conditions and communications before the crash. 4 Americans, a Kenyan pilot and 2 Ecuadorian nationals, are among the victims. Families are now mourning as investigators work to determine what caused Wednesday's deadly crash. Turning now to Washington, where President Trump is threatening what he calls economic D-Day for Iran. The warning comes as the USS Abraham Lincoln heads home after its record-long deployment in the region. Here's ABC's Rachel Scott.
Tonight, after 272 days at sea, the 5,000 sailors and Marines on the USS Lincoln are finally heading home. As the war dragged on, conditions on board deteriorating. Sailors' family members telling the Military Times at least 2 sailors trying to jump overboard. President Trump has dismissed concerns.
Has the deployment gone on too long?
No. Not nearly long enough.
The war now about to enter month 7. The president threatening economic D-Day, demanding that allies cut off business with Iran.
This is going to be the greatest coordinated economic isolation in the history of the world. And we are going to them and saying you are either with us or against us.
Trump warning any country that allows its financial institutions, businesses, airports, or government entities to provide any type of lifeline to Iran will itself face tremendous economic consequences. No word yet on how any of this would work, or whether the president is ready to punish Iran's top trading partner, China. Tonight, Vice President J.D. Vance saying the war with Iran is now in a new phase.
This is a delicate dance because we apply economic pressure to them. They're going to try to apply economic pressure to us.
Rachel Scott joins us now. So, Rachel, tell us about this continued fallout for the economy over the Iran war.
Yeah, well, look, amid all this uncertainty, Lindsay, oil prices are continuing to rise. Gas right now is averaging about $4.10 a gallon. And then over on Wall Street, the markets are reeling. The Dow plunging more than 700 points, Lindsay.
Quite a drop there. Rachel Scott for us. Thanks so much, Rachel. We're joined now by Republican Congressman Scott Perry of Pennsylvania, a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Thank you so much, Congressman, for joining us tonight. As you know, President Trump has threatened economic D-Day against Iran, saying it will be the most crushing economic operation ever taken against the country. But what he described seems like it would require international cooperation and enforcement to isolate Iran, which hasn't happened yet in this war. So does the president's threat have any actual teeth?
No, I think it does, and I think you're going to start seeing what's really important is some of the surrounding Arab countries joining in this economic, whatever you want to call it, battle against Iran. And this president is the president in my lifetime that has been most loath to be in conflict, to be in war, to go to war. But he also understands that Iran has been in a war with the United States of America, shouts death to America every day, and was on the doorstep of being able to deliver nuclear payloads to places around the globe. And there was simply no other choice except to deal with them. He still doesn't want the loss of life. He does not want the tension. He does not want the conflict. Unfortunately, we're dealing with, and he's dealing with, a theocratic death cult that gets its reward in the next life for killing people like President Trump and American citizens. And it's very hard to strike a deal with someone that has a, that has a suicide wish.
We've seen military pressure do very little in months to change Iran's stance, and the hardliners there seem dug in. Can you say with any confidence that the president has a clear strategy beyond threats to change the trajectory of this war?
Oh, I know that the president has a strategy, but unfortunately, look, every single conflict, there's a strategy involved. The problem is for every single conflict is that the enemy has a vote. And again, it's very difficult to deal with people that are irrational. Americans and Westerners like to ascribe their own value system, their own beliefs on other people. These people do not believe the same thing that you do. They're happy to strap a bomb to the child that they had for the express purpose of blowing up their enemy so that he can go see Allah. Most Westerners would never conceive of something like that. So it is very difficult to find some common ground with someone with that mindset. The president is trying everything he can to minimize the loss of life and the disruption, at the same time making sure that the leading sponsor of terrorism around the globe cannot have a nuclear weapon and the ability to deliver it, because we know that they will.
Iran's foreign minister responded to the president's economic threat with this, saying the so-called economic D-Day is a diversion from America's own crisis. Unprecedented debt and surging interest costs, doubling down on failed policies will only bring further defeat and enmity of Iranians. Does he have a point? Isn't the U.S. facing real economic pressure right now, with this war doing little to help American consumers if it continues to drag on?
We certainly, every single consumer has faced economic pressure. Let's remember that during the Biden administration, inflation was nearly 10%. It's about 2.5% now. What Iran's doing is propaganda, and we should not listen to them. We should not believe anything they say. They practice a thing called taqiyya, which allows them to lie to everybody else in advancement and in furtherance of their goals. This is all propaganda. It is meaningless drivel from people that aren't in charge of anything, have no power, have no authority, and are soon probably not going to be on the face of the planet.
Tomorrow marks just 75 days until the midterms. You're from Pennsylvania. How hard is it to defend this war on the campaign trail?
Well, look, nobody likes paying high gas prices, myself included. My constituents don't. But again, let's remember how this all started. First of all, Iran declared war on the United States 47 years ago. And we can't allow them to have a nuclear weapon. It's easy for people to be critical of the United States or President Trump, but I find it interesting they're not critical of the people that actually declared war and the people that are the #1 state sponsor of terrorism around the globe, responsible for killing millions of Americans. So no, we don't like paying high gas prices. You know what else we don't like? Dead Americans or nuclear conflict.
Congressman Scott Perry, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you. God bless you.
The FBI searched the home of former California Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell today. This was part of an investigation into allegations of sexual misconduct. Agents seized a number of electronic devices. I want to bring in ABC's Perry Russum for more. Perry, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Lindsay, sources tell ABC News former Congressman Eric Swalwell was served a warrant by federal agents Saturday night at San Francisco International Airport. They seized his laptop and his iPhone. The next day, agents searched his home in Washington, D.C. The California Democrat, once a rising star, resigned in disgrace amid accusations of sexual misconduct. Sources tell ABC News the criminal investigation centers around allegations of sexual assault. Swalwell has denied ever assaulting anybody, Lindsay.
All right, Perry Russum for us. Thanks so much, Perry. A suspect in Philadelphia who's been terrorizing joggers while wearing a frightening mask has been identified by police. Today, officials announced his identity. ABC's Rhiannon Alley has more.
Tonight, authorities in Philadelphia are asking the public to help them find the masked man terrorizing people across the city, now identifying him as 22-year-old Zymir Hughes.
If Zymir Hughes was trying to scare people, make them run, who's scared now? Who's running now?
Police today releasing new video of their alleged suspect in that disturbing doll face mask. They say he harassed 15 to 16 people on city streets before allegedly chasing this female jogger.
You think it's funny to scare people? Well, get ready to get scared by us, because we got the handcuffs, we got the jail cell.
Officials say Hughes travels for work and could be on the West Coast. Lindsay, police believe Hughes filmed these encounters for social media content. He is now facing harassment and assault charges. Lindsay?
Scary images there, Rhiannon. Thank you. Now to the surprise royal comeback. After 6 years in the U.S., Prince Harry and Meghan are moving their family back to the U.K. with no plans to resume their royal duties. ABC's chief international correspondent James Longman is in London with reaction.
Shockwaves through Britain tonight at Harry and Meghan's return to the UK. After moving to California 6 years ago for what the world assumed would be for good, they're coming back.
There's just been complete shock to this news because it feels like a complete U-turn on everything that Harry and Meghan have said since they left 6 years ago.
It was just a year ago that Harry said this.
I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point.
2 years after the wedding, their fairy tale turned into a nightmare. The British press hounding the couple. The family fled to California, sitting down for that bombshell interview with Oprah. Meghan opened up about having had suicidal thoughts, and the couple alleged racism inside the palace walls. The royal family pushed back.
Can you just let me know, is the royal family a racist family, sir?
No, we're very much not a racist family.
Harry's book, Spare, also opened up sensitive wounds, speaking to our Michael Strahan in 2023.
But I genuinely believe that if me and my family can reconcile, can put our differences behind us, but first there needs to be conversation and accountability.
But now they will return, and soon, in time for 7-year-old Archie and 5-year-old Lilibet to enrol in school, although they will not be working royals. Local reports say they'll keep their homes in Montecito and Portugal, but will find a private home outside of London.
I think he's lonely. I think he's missing his family.
They've built a lovely life together, and sadly I think that no matter where they live, they're going to get vilified, so they just ought to go wherever makes them happiest.
They'll all be back together again. James Longman joins us now from Buckingham Palace. So James, what do you make of all this, and what does Britain make of it?
Lindsay, it's a shock, right? I mean, most Britons thought that Harry and Meghan were gone for good. I mean, they burned a lot of bridges when they left here. Let's be real about it. That sit down with Oprah, they essentially alleged that there was racism inside the palace. And whether that was true or not, it kind of doesn't matter. The impression that Britain had was that Meghan especially was done with this country and they didn't think that they were ever going to come back. So I think this is a lot to process for people. Harry has also taken on the press in this country in a really big way, and the press, make no bones about it, the tabloid newspapers in this country, they will be out for blood when these two come back with their family, of course. Yes, Meghan and Harry have a lot of supporters. It will be a kind of rival couple in many ways for the Waleses, for the Prince and Princess of Wales, William and Kate. they will be unnerved about this. Of course, now where they'll see perhaps there'll be like a rival court in another part of the UK. It's fascinating. I think one of the big answers as to why now might be the King's health. They want to spend a little bit more time with a man who they're not sure will be around for too much longer. We cannot know that. That is pure speculation, but one imagines a son wants to make sure his father can spend some more time with his grandchildren. But ultimately, this is going to happen very soon, perhaps as soon as in just the next 10 days, because they want to make sure they get their kids into school here in Britain. But big, big day here in the United Kingdom, Lindsay.
Big change afoot. All right, James Longman for us. Thanks so much, James. Coming up, happy hour is looking different these days as fewer U.S. adults say they drink alcohol. So what's behind the shift and what's the new drink of choice? We break it down by the numbers. And we take you to New Orleans, the birthplace of jazz, and a celebration not only of the forefathers of this music, but also a wave of new artists in an art form that reflects the spirit and soul of America. Why have you described it before as the soul of America?
Music is not just entertainment, it's a spiritual practice. The music highlights the spirit of the people, which is resilient and joyful. So that's a big part of why I say it's the soul of America, many reasons why.
Plus, why some school districts are removing lettuce and jalapenos from their menus as kids head back to school. Welcome back, everyone. Apparently, Americans are not drinking like they used to. Alcohol consumption remains at a record low. That's according to new research released today by Gallup. So what's driving this trend and what are Americans replacing alcohol with? Let's take a look by the numbers. 54% of U.S. adults say that they drink alcohol. That matches last year's record low. That's down significantly in just a couple of years. In 2023, 62% of adults said that they drank alcohol. 13% say that they sometimes drink too much, also a record low for that metric. Meanwhile, 17% of people say that they have substituted a non-alcoholic beverage for alcohol. 51% now consider moderate drinking bad for your health. Prior to 2023, a majority of Americans said moderate drinking makes no difference in your health. Just 6% of people said that they thought moderate alcohol consumption is good for your health. That number has been falling for decades. In 2005, more than 25% said moderate amounts of alcohol were good for you. As for Americans' favorite type of alcohol, beer is still king, but the lead is shrinking. 36% of Americans prefer beer, 32% prefer cocktails, and 30% prefer wine. Younger Americans, they are behind the surge in popularity for liquor, while wine is most popular among people older than 55. For more on this changing trend, let's bring in ABC News medical contributor Dr. Darian Sutton. All right, so just break it down for us. What actually happens to our bodies when we're consuming alcohol?
An important question. So when we consume alcohol, it's broken down into a toxic metabolite called acetaldehyde, and that's where the harm lies. And it doesn't matter whether you're drinking beer, hard liquor, or wine. When that acetaldehyde gets into your body, it causes a multitude of changes, which can include oxidative stress on our cells. That increases the risk of developing abnormal cells, and that's the basis for cancer, as well as inflammation and even hormone dysregulation. I think what is becoming more talked about is the fact that alcohol itself is a known carcinogen. It's related to at least 7 different types of cancer. And in fact, in 2025, the U.S. Surgeon General Advisory Committee concluded that alcohol contributed to at least 100,000 new cancer cases every year and at least 20,000 new cancer-related deaths.
And so 20 years ago, more Americans thought that, it's actually good for you to drink alcohol. That number has since plummeted. Why do you think the shift?
I think it's public awareness. In that study, that same Gallup poll, 86% of Americans say that they've heard at least something about research relating alcohol to long-term negative health effects. And I think that's really it's what many people are thinking about when they're choosing alcohol or not choosing alcohol. When you look at the overall understanding of the data, it seems as though people are shifting mainly because of that public opinion shift. And that is increasingly making people change their behavior because of that. All of this together, there's likely other factors as well. When we talk about GLPs, for example, and the use of them, that is rising. We know that there's new evidence that associates use of GLPs with reductions in alcohol use. But I think at the end of it, Lindsay, I think more and more people are simply aware of the risk and the connection and making choices for themselves and their health.
The mocktail is starting to sound a little better.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Dr. Sutton, thank you so
course.
much as always. Coming up, the FDA is out with a new warning about frozen berries, why the food recall has been upgraded to the highest alert level. And a wild chase through the streets of Los Angeles, how people on the street actually jumped in to help a biker evade police. Welcome back to Prime. Here's a look at the stories making headlines right now. The FBI says a woman planned to attack the New York State Capitol in Albany. Authorities say the 35-year-old was seen buying bomb-making materials from a hardware store and discussed her plans with several FBI informants. She allegedly told them that her intent was to kill as many public officials as possible as part of an ISIS-inspired terror plot. New video shows the horrifying moments a small plane crashed midair with a Pennsylvania State Police helicopter. The collision happened during a state police training exercise when the plane veered off the runway, blindsiding the helicopter. A trooper managed to pull his colleague out of the wreckage, but the crash killed the plane's pilot and injured 2 state troopers. Apple Music will start labeling AI-made tracks later this year. The vice president of Apple Music told Billboard that more than a third of the songs uploaded to the platform are created by AI. The music streaming service said that they want to position their listeners in the best position to know how the music they're listening to was created. Residents in California are outraged over a video showing a postal worker throwing rocks at a beloved neighborhood peacock. The video shows the man hurling an object at the animal and then hitting it with a stick. USPS officials say that they take allegations of inappropriate conduct seriously. Still ahead, it's the beating heart of New Orleans, talking about jazz music, how the unpredictability and improvisation of the genre mirrors America itself. And 2 fishermen are saved after being stranded at sea, how they stayed alive for 5 days in the Pacific Ocean. Welcome back, everyone. New Orleans is known as the birthplace of jazz. The city's deep cultural roots stretch back generations to a time when music was a lifeline, born from African rhythm carried by the forefathers of jazz, giving rise to an art form that reflects the spirit of America itself. Tonight, we remember the pioneers of the genre as the new wave of artists catapult jazz into the future.
New Orleans.
New Orleans is amazing. Where else can you get a po' boy at a gas station?
A good one.
Really first rate at 2 a.m. Where else can you see 6 and 7-year-olds of all races speaking patois that's very unique and have the footwork to match? It's a thing that I believe is really soulful, not just in terms of New Orleans, but the ideal of what America can be. People coexisting, not in spite of their differences, but in celebration of them.
What's so beautiful about New Orleans is pretty much on every street corner, there's an incredible musician who could be on a stage performing.
I'm no expert, but I know one thing. New Orleans is the birthplace of jazz. And this vibrant, soulful, loving creation that's ever been made.
You can tell the history of America, the story of America, through the story of jazz. It is concert music, it is shake your ass music, it is parade down the street music. It's the music you want to hear when your loved ones are gone and you're accompanying them to the cemetery.
It's a place where you had a musical gumbo of styles coming together and creating this beautiful improv-based piece of art.
What was it about New Orleans that you think has just created, many people call New Orleans really the birthplace of jazz?
The mix of people. You had French people, you had all the people from the Caribbean, the greatest port city of the South.
New Orleans, where the Mississippi meets the sea. For generations, jazz has been the heartbeat of this city. Its memory, its identity, its soul. And if you listen close enough, through its rhythms, you can hear the story of America itself.
You've got all this noise that's coming from the port, the sounds of the steamboats, stevedores yelling, the clop-trop of horses and wagons, vendors who are walking through neighborhoods, singing songs and yelling blackberries or bananas. You have sacred music going on, and then you have these bands.
Long before jazz had a name, its pulse was already echoing throughout the city. A sacred cadence that survived against impossible odds.
The heartbeat of all American music begins with African rhythms. In particular, beginning in the mid-1700s, Congo Square.
Congo Square, where the slaves and free people of color used to celebrate every Sunday.
Congo Square is really important in the history of Louisiana, the history of New Orleans. Neutral ground carved out by black people. The authority tried to stop that from the French all the way to the American authorities, but people always resisted and they kept that sacred place for their performances.
The beautiful part about the air is that it can't be segregated. People were figuring out ways to communicate via rhythm, to communicate with their ancestors, to pray, to mourn, to long for some other reality.
Because Congo Square existed, is why we have all the music that features drums.
Early jazz draws from so many different musical streams. Church music, marching band music, music hall music, as well as the blues and ragtime. By the beginning of the 1900s, young people were looking for a far deeper emotional and psychological connection to music than they had ever had before. And they found it in jazz. Not just black people, white listeners, music lovers. Embracing syncopation, embracing improvisational music. And so we customarily say that the person who began it all for New Orleans was Buddy Bolden. Buddy Bolden was a cornet player known for an extraordinarily loud sound. Everybody who ever heard him said, boy, you could hear that guy for miles.
Thanks to Louis Armstrong, King Oliver, General Martin, is really where it started. And before you know it, jazz was born.
Baby, every night when I shake my back, cut my dynamite, change your mind.
Louis Armstrong absolutely is one of the early pioneers of jazz music, and he eventually was joined by people like Dizzy Gillespie, Charlie Parker, and so many others who contributed to making jazz what it is.
New Orleanians are grateful to Louis Armstrong for his artistic achievements and for being such an incredible ambassador worldwide for jazz, making a stand against segregation on the bandstand.
The pioneers of a sound whose roots run deep in the bayou. Titans like Louis Armstrong, who revolutionized the jazz scene by elevating the solo and transformed American music forever. Influencing rock, R&B, hip-hop, bounce, and now a new generation of artists. Wynton Marsalis, Kermit Ruffins, Trombone Shorty, and John Batiste among them, reimagining the genre, tracing their roots right back here.
The New Orleans I grew up in was rich in experiences. There's a lot of beauty, there's a lot of ugliness.
When I would go into the city, it was like going into a portal.
Why have you described it before as the soul of America?
Music is not just entertainment, it's a spiritual practice. The music highlights the spirit of the people, which is resilient and joyful. So that's a big part of why I say it's the soul of America. Many reasons why.
It's a piece called Watermelon Man.
described before that jazz can be democracy in action. How so?
Well, it is that because it's the art form of a country whose credo is that. It is an aspiration. I believe in the cause of freedom, even if it's not a reality. And I believe that belief is what makes it a reality. If you don't believe in it, it's never going to be real.
This nation was begun with an eye toward democracy, which to my mind is the coming together of people of an infinite variety of backgrounds and abilities. That's essentially the story of jazz, because it is an immigrant story. It is a story that is dominated by the transatlantic slave trade. It is a story that is born from the pain of loss and of a newfound reality in which people had to make the best of things. It is a music of extraordinary beauty. It is the story of the United States.
Little jazz at the end.
You can hear the history there. Coming up, Emmy-nominated actor and star from The Pit, Tal Anderson, joins us. Her new children's book, Oh, Tal, Not Like That, is a heartfelt story about navigating the world while celebrating neurodivergence, and why champagne producers in France are racing to pick grapes in the earliest harvest on record. The Federal Trade Commission is urging retailers to be more transparent about personalized pricing. That's when companies secretly vary prices based on how much they think individual customers will pay. Now businesses could face federal charges under a new FTC policy. The proposed policy says companies engaging in personalized pricing without revealing the data behind it could violate the FTC Act. It comes after the agency found grocers, clothing companies, and others were using third-party information to help them adjust online prices based on shoppers' locations, browsing histories, and how long they left items in their virtual shopping carts. We're less than 3 weeks away until the 2026 fantasy football season begins on September 9th, and some people are getting creative with it, with ideas like last place punishments. Danny New has this story.
My husband doing a fantasy football punishment.
Why is Chicago's John Lesky here dressed up as Eric Carl's The Very Hungry Caterpillar? Because once again, before the start of the NFL season, fantasy football players are finally serving their punishments for coming in last place last year.
I was actually kind of impressed by the end of it. I'm like, I would have tapped out really fast. Yeah. So
overall, you're proud of your husband.
I was pretty impressed.
There are millions of fantasy football leagues around the world, and the quest to generate the most unique last place punishment has become a bit of an annual internet tradition. In John's case, his league is mostly friends and family, so he made sure to at least FaceTime with his league mates' children, including his nephew.
And they were like, they haven't sat still for that long in like a month.
Playing Michael Brook today, no ball. Meanwhile, in Canada, Connor Merritt here is in a league with all of his old hockey buddies. And his punishment was to go golfing without a ball and not tell anyone he joined why he didn't have one.
I go put my tee in the ground with no ball on it and swing. And I turn back, I go, that was a good one. And then he looks at me dead serious and goes, how do you know?
There's also a chance you could be locked in a closet and have to do a 1,000-piece baked bean puzzle. Or you might have to be like Ty in South Florida here, who had to compete in a bodybuilding competition.
I had no idea what I was doing. I was just hitting poses that I kind of saw them do.
In the case of Ty and his buddy Tommy, they have been in this league together since high school. And perhaps the best part is, Ty was the one who thought of this idea before the start of last season. So in preparation, Ty shaved his body hair, got a spray tan, and over the course of many months, even lost 30 pounds. But why did he go through so much effort?
That's what makes fantasy football fantasy football.
A dirt bike rider leads Los Angeles police on a wild chase. The luxury specs raising eyebrows on a new all-electric 7-seater SUV, and why champagne producers in France are racing to pick their grapes in the region's earliest harvest ever. These stories and more in tonight's rundown. A dirt bike rider led police on a wild chase through Los Angeles Wednesday evening. Police at one point cornered the rider at a gas station, but the suspect got away with a gas pump hose still attached.
Oh, hold the pump!
He was then spotted in a park refueling from a gasoline jug that had apparently been left behind. Police took him into custody at gunpoint after about an hour when the helmetless suspect reportedly fell off the bike as he attempted to hide in a trash can. The FDA has upgraded a frozen blueberry and mixed berry recall to their highest risk warning due to a possible E. coli contamination. The Class 1 warning applies to 4 GreenWise products sold in 8 states at public supermarkets. No deaths have been reported, but the CDC has reported 12 people have been infected. Separately, officials at some school districts tell ABC News they're removing recalled foods like iceberg lettuce, salad, and jalapenos from their menus out of an abundance of caution as classes resume. 2 fishermen are back on dry land after spending 5 days stranded at sea. They survived by clinging to a large cooler as it drifted in the Pacific. The Mexican Navy rescued the men after an aircraft spotted them. Both men are reportedly in stable condition. South Korean luxury brand Genesis has just unveiled a full-size electric SUV with an estimated driving range of 310 miles. Genesis says the battery can be charged from 10% to 80% in around 22 minutes when using a fast charger. The new GV90 boasts space for 7 passengers, pillarless doors, and 180-degree swivel chairs, among other luxury features. There's no pricing yet, but the car is expected to run in the 6 figures and be available late next year. Champagne producers in France are racing to pick their grapes after extreme heat and drought accelerated ripening. Growers say that they have a narrow window to preserve the quality of their world-famous sparkling wine. Champagne's official harvest began last week, roughly a month earlier than normal. Earlier harvests have been increasingly common in Champagne and elsewhere in Europe as temperatures rise, with some champagne houses seeing lower yields because of the weather. Post Malone is reportedly engaged to stylist Christy Lee, according to celebratory social media posts by Lee's friends. Malone and Lee first sparked dating rumors after they were seen grabbing dinner in Rome in January last year. Malone shares a 4-year-old daughter with Hee-sung Jamie Park, to whom he was previously engaged. Neither Malone nor Lee has yet confirmed their engagement. Emmy-nominated actress Tal Anderson has made waves in her standout role as Becca King in HBO's hit medical drama series The Pitt. However, her talents extend far beyond the screen. With a newly released children's book, Oh, Tal, Not Like That, Tal encourages kids to embrace their authenticity and individuality just as they are. And joining us today in studio is Tal. Thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on the second book. Tell us about your excitement to do a sequel and the characters' new adventures.
I'm excited to do this second book because the second book, it's called Oh, Tal, Not Like That. The setting is going to be at school, and the setting is school because that's where the illustrator Michael Ritchie White and I felt the most misunderstood. You know, we wanted kids to know that it's okay to think differently, and there's more than one way to do things. They should know that they should never let anyone never let someone squash their creativity.
And how important is it for kids who are neurodivergent to see themselves represented in books as well?
You know, there's not enough books out there for neurodivergent kids, so it's really important for neurodivergent kids to feel seen and to make themselves seen and feel seen in this book.
A number of fans know you from The Pit. You've talked about the importance of representing the neurodivergent community authentically. How do you think that the entertainment industry is doing?
Yeah, neurodivergence is a huge spectrum, and it's tough for one show to cover all the representation. But The Pit, in my opinion, has done a beautiful job of it. First of all, it starts with getting the story right, and also the characters are written authentically, and it's just a really, really great show. And they're also really great at casting actors with the same lived experiences in these roles. So that's how the authenticity really shines.
You really embraced independent, says Becca, in season 2. Can you give us a tease of what we can expect for season 3?
I have no idea. But what I do know is that the writers know how to tell Becca's story as it's meant to be. All I can say is all we can do is just be patient and see what happens.
We'll stay tuned. We'll watch in real time. I want to just go back to the book. What made you want to write this story and share your own journey?
Well, like I said before, Michael and I, we both bonded over being autistic, and also having like shared lived experiences, and that's why we wanted to create these series of books so we can let kids know that it's okay to think differently, and it's okay to feel confident to be themselves.
Tal Anderson, thank you so much for joining us. Really a pleasure to have you. You can now purchase Oh Tal, Not Like That wherever books are sold. And that is our show for this hour. I'm Lindsay Davis. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us. Have a great night.